Hi everyone. So there's a bit of news, quite big news actually, if you read the articles about cannabis regulations in the UK. This is from the Telegraph a couple of days ago. Police accused of giving tacit approval to cannabis clubs across the UK. Police have accused of giving tacit approval to cannabis clubs where paying members can meet and take the drug without fear of prosecution. At least 2 police and crime commissioners have visited or endorsed the clubs, of which there are 160 across the UK. And that's a picture of one of the Durham's police and crime commissioner. Despite the fact possession of cannabis remains illegal and can result in a maximum 5-year prison sentence, many forces no longer treat the offence as a priority, with some police leaders even calling for the law to be relaxed. How could they treat it? I've pointed out in previous videos, you can't treat the offence as a priority, and you can't, waste police money doing that. There are more cannabis factories in the UK now than there are policemen. So let's cut out the nonsense and stop wasting money. That was my argument in one of the previous videos I did. Cannabis clubs first appeared in Britain, the article continues to say, around 7 years ago, with the first groups launched by people who used the drug to treat a variety of medical conditions. I've spoken about this before. It's great for a variety of medical conditions, whereas other pharmaceutical products, so to speak, fail, such as arthritis. Cannabis, there's a wealth of knowledge now, a wealth of scientific data to back up that it's a great anti-inflammatory, which is obviously great for arthritis. It continues, but the failure of police to investigate and prosecute members led to an explosion in the number of clubs opening. Members who often pay as little as £35 a year to join can purchase seeds in order to grow the drug and then share it with others at cost price. According to the chairman of the UK Cannabis Social Clubs, none of the 160 groups operating across the country has ever been raided by the police. Police leaders have been rebuked by government for failing to enforce the law after it emerged that scores of cannabis clubs have sprung up across the country, allowing people to smoke the drug with apparent impunity. Why shouldn't they be able to? If they're not pissing anybody off and nobody's complaining, why shouldn't they be able to treat their consciousness with a harmless drug, certainly more harmless than tobacco or alcohol? I don't know what they're trying to do with this article, how they're trying to spin it, but it's coming off good for me. From Dundee to the Isle of Wight, members pay as little as £35 a year to join and then can gather 3 or 4 times a week to smoke and share the drug with like-minded people. Details of the clubs are openly available online, and organisers insist that they are helping to take the trade out of the hands of violent and ruthless criminals, with most members now social rather than medical users. This is what one of the arguments they gave, wasn't it, with regards to cannabis. They say, oh, it's the thin end of the wedge, and if you buy cannabis, then you're promoting, violent crime. Well, it wouldn't be violent crime if it was legal, or it wouldn't be violent crime if people could grow it at home legally. You're making an argument for me here. The article then continues, the explosion in the number of cannabis clubs in recent years comes as police forces struggling with shrinking budgets because of austerity increasingly prioritise the fight against violent crime and other more serious offences over low-level drug users, and so they should. But a Home Office spokesman insisted on Tuesday that while it was an operational decision for police chiefs how they deployed their resources, they expected them to enforce the law, they expected them basically to do the impossible because they haven't got enough money to do what the government is. That's a different argument. A spokesman said the trade of and possession of recreational cannabis is illegal in the UK regardless of where you use it. Yeah, okay, mate. Yeah, you carry on. Scientific and medical evidence is clear that recreational cannabis can cause harm in individuals and the society. And scientific and medical evidence is also clear that alcohol and tobacco are far more serious than cannabis. The own drugs advisor David Nutt back in 2009, 2009 I think it was, actually came out and gave the scientific evidence. He was fired for actually coming up with evidence that the government didn't like. That was under Gordon Brown, by the way, not the Tories. This guy continues anyway. He said, those using it should be in no doubt that if they are caught, they face prosecution and a maximum jail term of 5 years. Well, who should we believe? Should we believe a government spokesperson, or should we believe the police who are actually working with these people, working with these cannabis drugs, and actually these cannabis clubs rather, and actually looking like they're actually taking a sensible decision here, whereas the government do not want to make that sensible decision. He continues, this numpty does. How police choose to pursue investigations is an operational decision for chief constables, but we are clear that we expect them to enforce the law. As I've said, they are clear that they expect them to do the impossible. But organisers of the cannabis clubs claim to have had good support from police in their local areas, and none have ever been raided or forced to close down. At least 2 elected police and crime commissioners have even visited clubs and praised the way they operate. Arthur Jones, of North Wales Police and Crime Commissioner, who visited a cannabis club in Teesside, that was the guy in the picture at the top of this article, said, I wanted to see how it was run. The members bring their own cannabis. It isn't grown on the premises and they're not dealing or supplying. They pay an annual membership fee to the member of what is the social club they go to use cannabis. There are 150 members paying £35 a year, and why not? There are pubs and clubs where people go and drink alcohol, so why shouldn't consenting adults be able to use cannabis recreationally and without causing anyone any harm? And the location is such that there is no NIMBYism. So as long as there's nobody saying, hey, not in my backyard you don't, it smells awful, there's no consenting adults should be able to use cannabis. I assume grow it. And the reason I say assume grow it is they actually followed that article up the next day, the Telegraph did, with another one. And I went to read it, and they put up I've read enough articles now, I've got to donate to them. I'm not giving the Tory graph any money, despite the fact that I want to read the article. This one from the UK Cannabis Social Clubs, though, excellent website. Go and check it out. They said the Telegraph has followed up yesterday's story on anti-prohibition police commissioners in the UK Cannabis Social Club after Arthur Jones, Police and Crime Commissioner, signals his support for it. And this article is really quite interesting. I'm sorry I'm reading a lot of this, but I'm hoping you're as interested in it as I was. Jones told the Telegraph he was sympathetic to the clubs allowing users to grow their own cannabis for regulated consumption by their members. This is the follow-up article, remember. Jones told the Telegraph he was sympathetic to the clubs allowing users to grow their own cannabis for regulated consumption by their members. Okay. He added that authorities should focus instead on the legal regulation of cannabis for medicinal and recreational use. Totally agree with him. Durham Constabulary said its officers would not be likely to search homes even if the occupant were known to be cultivating cannabis. So the Durham Chief Police there, the Durham Constabulary said its officers would not be likely to search homes or target homes if you've got 1 or 2 plants at home and you're growing it for your personal use. It carries on. Anyone who is seen by a police officer to be smoking cannabis in County Durham and Darlington will be arrested. I agree with that. I do, because I think smoking it out in the open, in front of people, say, you know, if you're smoking it in a pub and there's other people who don't like the smell and it should be treated like tobacco smoke. But I don't think you shouldn't be doing it in any areas that is pissing anybody else off. So I can see that, although obviously the laws are grey here. However, our officers are unlikely to apply for a warrant to search a house if they learn there is a single plant inside which is being grown for personal use. UK CSC Chairman Greg de Hoyt told the paper that thousands of members include magistrates, bank managers, NHS nurses, and this is ridiculous. It really is. If you look at the amount of people that actually use cannabis in the UK, there's a lot of us. There really is. The industry is, I'll come to it in a minute, but it's much larger than Colorado's industry. I do want to read this bit because I know I'm reading a lot of it, but it is interesting, I think. He pointed out that firefighters suffering from PTSD use the drug, as well as ex-military members and magistrates in Sussex and Surrey. Again, it's great for PTSD. Cannabis is. And obviously it would help firefighters, ex-members of the military use it. In Middlesbrough, Cannabis Chairman Michael Fisher admitted members openly buy and sell the Class B drug because it is an collective that keeps the price down. Cannabis will be traded between members from anything from £100 an ounce to £150 an ounce. That's really good. It's good. Street value is 200 to 280. Our members in Teesside have a few collectives that they grow among themselves, and we have a collective that we work with as well that grows cannabis for other members. This is great. This is absolutely wonderful. It really is. I'm so glad this has been highlighted. Well done, The Telegraph. I don't know whether you wanted to highlight it to get people outraged or not, but this is wonderful. The average age of our current members, he says, is around 45 years old. We have a couple of gentlemen in their 60s and one in his 70s. We have a lot of people that own their own businesses, everything furniture to car sales and mechanics. I'll leave a link to these articles down below. Go and read them, because at the bottom there it says, if someone complains, they have to come down. They're talking about the police here. If somebody complains about, them smoking cannabis, if somebody complains about it, they have to come down. But listen to this: it says, if someone complains, they have to come down. But the last time they came, they had a look at the store with my grinders and all my merchandise, and said, "We can't smell cannabis," and walked off. That's police turning a blind eye to it. Cannabis social clubs are continuing to form in every part of the UK, and the National Cannabis Society Club conference will take place in London in November this year. And this is why this is all coming to light, because it was exposed a while ago now that the UK is the largest producer of legal cannabis in the world, which is just hypocritical for it not to be, at least just a blind eye being turned to it, which looks like what is happening now. It's a step in the right direction. It's not enough. The right direction would be, in my opinion, to tax it, to legalise it, to tax it, to regulate it. This was from Forbes a while ago as well. Researchers found that legalising marijuana had a positive impact on the economy of Pueblo County, Colorado. In a landmark report of the Colorado State University, Pueblo's Institute of Cannabis Research, researchers found that taxed and regulated cannabis industry contributed more than $58 million to the local economy. Now, that is just Pueblo County, Colorado. It's just one part of Colorado. And like I say, the UK cannabis industry is bigger than the whole of Colorado. I'll give you some idea. This was in Vice a while ago. I've talked about this on my channel before for anybody seeing me for the first time. In 2011, Clear, a UK political party dedicated to cannabis law reform, so this is somebody who actually was dedicated for it, funded a study. So it's important to know who funds the study before you give the conclusions of the study. But they concluded that estimated that the amount of cannabis consumed in the UK between a 7-year period was on average 36.5 million ounces a year, almost 15 times the size of Colorado's economy. And as you can see there, it added 58 million to the local economy just in Pueblo County, Colorado. So you can imagine the amount of money here that can be actually made in a legalized, taxed and regulated industry. And it goes on to say there at the bottom, that's obviously a lot of money, the amount of money it could put it back into the economy. You're talking something like, I think I worked it out to be something like 6 billion. It's a lot of money. It's roughly about 75% of the agriculture industry entire in this country. Now, and it says here that's obviously a lot of money, but to put that into perspective, 2.4 billion a year, they're saying, in that article in Vice, could be used to pay for the starting salaries of 110,000 teachers, 10 million nights in an NHS bed, over 100,000 police cars and their maintenance, every single person's winter fuel allowance, or 1 billion school dinners. So every single person's winter fuel allowance. The stoners could be keeping the old ladies and gents warm at night if it was legalised and taxed. That would be the end game, I think. That's the right thing to go towards. Excuse me, my throat has got a rasp in it from talking for so long. That would be the direction that needs to go in, taxed, legalised and regulated, in my opinion. And in many others as well. There's a lot of scientific evidence and now financial and economic evidence to back up that this would be the best way forward. However, if the police are now turning a blind eye to people, because they used to prosecute people who grew it at home, even if they grew like, just a few plants at home for their own use in a greenhouse or something like that, they would prosecute. If they're not now, then I would think that the sales of grow tents are going to go up in this country. I would think that. And if they're doing that, and as long as there's no NIMBYism, as that article says, not in my backyard, obviously growing cannabis has a massive smell, so you would have to do about that. I assume there's air scrubbers and that sort of thing that you can do to take the scent out of any grow room and stop it escaping and being annoying for the neighbours if you lived in a tight enclosed area like that. But this is great. It's great news. And this is not the government doing it. That's important to notice here. The government are against this. It's the police who are actually doing this. It's the police that are driving this, not the government. So I am just like with anything, if you're going to slate the police for being wrong, you've got to congratulate them here for doing the right thing, even if you hate them or not. Because this seems to me like it's the start of the full legalisation journey of cannabis in the UK. How long it takes, and if it ever happens completely, I think your guess is probably as good as mine. But in this case, hey, this is great. I might celebrate with a spliff later. If you enjoyed this video, please click the bell down there and subscribe so you get a notification of next time I drop a video. Also, I can't do this without your help, so if you can afford it and you enjoy my videos, please support the channel by subscribing to my Patreon. Link is down there. You can do it for as little as $1 a month, and it really does help. If you can't afford it, that's fine. Please share my work and talk to other people about the issues that I bring up. Thanks very much for your support. Until next time, peace and take care.